We are talking about low carbon and renewable hydrogen, the solutions to a greener. I'm actually going to start with you. What differentiates the projects that are going to reach FID from those that won't?
First of all, in the hydrogen business, we need to make sure that this trading opportunity between the consumers and the producers are working well. So this is kind of the offtake agreement that we have to make sure that are in place before we kind of see hydrogen taking off, both the green side and the blue side. What I kind of compare this with is the LNG business back a few decades, maybe 4 decades, and basically saw how that evolves into what it is today. Hydrogen, to a large extent, is in the same phase where it's in, even though it's to some extent a mature business, it's still in its phase of development and thought leadership and driving it. But the whole ecosystem of hydrogen has to develop over the next few years to make sure that there's a good balance between the consumers, the producer, the traders, all of that going together hand in hand and hand in glove, if you like to say. So I think that's kind of the key criteria. The other is, if I kind of look at it from a FID perspective, the technology is relatively mature, although there are innovations happening, both on the digital side across the portfolio of the hydrogen. But from a large perspective, I think we can say that the technology to produce hydrogen, both green and blue, is in place. So that's a good thing. And then it's a little bit of a velocity game. How do we make sure that there is a, if I quote Elvis Presley, a little less conversation and a little more action, right? So we kind of see that we're pushing it through as both as industry players, all of us sitting here on the panel, and all of you out there in the audience. How do we make sure it becomes to life and drive it?
Yesterday there was a lot of education on CCUS, so perfect question. Can the CCUS technology in other sectors help accelerate blue hydrogen projects?
If we look at blue and green combined, we say in ABB that this is an and equation and not an or equation. And basically what we mean by that, they coexist in parallel. So green and blue will continue to coexist in parallel. And I agree with Ganesh that, hey, geographically it will maybe play out a little differently based on what access you have to green electricity to produce green hydrogen versus what access you have to gas and carbon capture and storage. So if we start with the green side, all of us know that 70% of the cost of green hydrogen is related to electricity cost. And to you, Nicola, also on how do we make sure that the access to green electricity is getting cheaper? And there we are, as a technology company, we're working on kind of digital solution to make sure that you can save something like 20% on your electricity costs. So making sure that the producer gets the benefit of a lower production cost and then also then getting the price point of green hydrogen down. So one of the projects that we're doing now is an FPSO, a floating production and storage units out of the coast of Portugal, producing 240,000 tons of green hydrogen per year. So it's not huge, large scale. It's like a 300 megawatt unit that we're doing, but it's really producing from green electricity. And then it's like a little test case. So we have a term sheet signed with Switch H2, which is the company that does this. And this is a little test case for Europe to, hey, how do we make sure that we facilitate the innovation in this industry and drive the price point down so it really gets attractive to the consumers to use the green hydrogen that is produced, and developing this ecosystem of, hey, producer, demand, consumer, etc. So that would be one on the green side. On the blue side, so coexisting in parallel with the green, carbon capture and storage element is where we need higher capacity. So today, something like 50 million tons of carbon storage capacity in the world today. We need to scale that up by 10 times multiple. So that's where we lack the capacity to actually do more on the blue side, to really have more carbon capture capacity. Although there's a lot of projects on the drawing board across the world on the carbon capture, we see investors are scaling up and down, and some of them are now pulling back a little bit on this investment in carbon capture. We have delivered to the largest carbon capture projects in the world as of now, which is called Northern Lights up on the coast of Norway, which is 4.5 million tons per year in carbon capture storage. So taking from cement plants and other facilities around, industrial facilities around the coast, and putting them into ships and basically injecting them into ground, so not producing the blue hydrogen out of that carbon capture as of now, but that will come. I mean, there is a value in that. There is also a value in, hey, when you come to regulation and legislation, I mean, how do you pay for emissions? Which is very, very different around the world. I mean, some countries have a price point per kilo CO2 you emit, and some doesn't. So, I mean, how do we get to kind of a regulation around this, which is looking at the cost of emissions versus the cost of actually capturing and storing? So that would be, they will coexist in parallel. It will go a little bit in waves, and how the investors are looking at this. But from a technology side, more carbon capture capacity is required, and less price on the green electricity is required. And with those two elements solved, that can move forward more quickly.
How important is the collaboration across green hydrogen value chain to manage risk and minimize obstacles?
I absolutely believe that collaboration is a key facilitation element in bringing hydrogen forward. Absolutely. I think amongst the players in the industry, amongst the end users, the EPC, the technology companies, shipping, getting that ecosystem, if you can call it that, to make sure that we expand in hydrogen, that's going to be super important. I mean, we just have to collaborate. So that's really a part of it. And we're doing that with many companies as of today. And we're doing that not only in the hydrogen business, we're doing that across all of the industries that we serve from ABB. So we have a saying called ABB Engineered to Outrun, and Engineered to Outrun is helping our customers to solve problem and engineered leaner and cleaner, giving them access to leaner and cleaner technology, but also helping them to decarbonize their industries, which is part of the hydrogen expansion as we talk about. It's absolutely elementary that we together solve the problems of the world today. No single company can solve the problems of the world today alone. So collaboration, essential in my opinion.
We haven't talked about artificial intelligence and AI in this story. Who wants to grab the expected role of AI?
AI is going to play a big role. We're all going to be part of it in some form, one way or another. Absolutely, AI is there also to be in the hydrogen business. So how will it play out? It will play out both on the operation side, where you can use AI to facilitate your operations more productively and also do some savings on the how you manage your production versus the cost side of it, how you manage your demand and production system, etc. So that will be part of it. Then there is an element of how do you build and execute your facilities when you're first doing an investment, and there you can save on engineering, you can save on how you deploy your equipment, etc. There are many, many aspects of AI that will come into play for this industry and other industries in the near term.